All right, this is Patrick Rogers. We have the privilege to have Jon Rennie on the show. And Jon is the co-founder, president, and CEO of Peak Demand. Welcome to the show, Jon.
Hey, Patrick. Good to be here.
Awesome to have you, man. So Jon is a business leader, best-selling author, speaker, and podcaster. He's the co-founder, president, and CEO of Peak Demand Incorporated, which is a manufacturer of products for electrical utilities. And so another near and dear to my heart fellow he's a former U.S. Naval Nuclear Submarine Officer who has made 7 deployments during the end of the Cold War. So Jon, thank you for your service, man, especially during a time like that and for an extended period of time. That's just thanks for your service, brother.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for yours as well. Absolutely.
Of course, man.
A fellow nuke.
A fellow nuke. Yes, absolutely. And so for those of you who don't know, like, there's the officers and then there's the nuke officers and just anybody going through the nuclear program. It's an extremely rigorous program. It's a year of training, 6 months of books. And, you know, we both have 4-year degrees, I'm sure, in engineering, but that 6 month was just intense as anything. I mean, it's a different kind of learning. You have to learn it. It's not like college where you can cram for it. So anyways, and then 6 months of practicing on a nuclear reactor in the middle of nowhere. Right. So,
Yes.
So let me finish up on Jon's bio here. So prior to starting Peak Demand, he led 8 different manufacturing businesses for 3 global companies. So Jon is no newbie to management and leadership, and he's also the author of 3 best-selling leadership books and the host of the Deep Leadership podcast. So again, Jon, great to have you. Before we dive into your journey, before we dive into Peak Demand, what's one interesting fact that not many people know about you?
Well, I got an opportunity to get a master's degree at Cambridge University in the UK. So I got selected in a program. I worked for a company called ABB at the time, large global company.
Oh, yeah.
Got picked to a leadership program and I got a chance to go for 2.5 years to work on a degree at Cambridge University, one of the oldest universities in the world. So it's kind of a cool experience. And not many Americans get a chance to do that. So it's kind of a neat experience in my life.
That is super neat. What was what would you say that experience? What was like the most memorable thing, or what made it just the experience that it was?
So we worked in a cohort. So we had leaders, business leaders, mostly in manufacturing business leaders from all over the world participating in it. And then we did a tour of Europe and we looked at best practices in manufacturing processes. So we got a chance to see some of the top manufacturing plants in Europe. So got really great opportunity to travel, to meet a lot of interesting colleagues from, different manufacturing, experiences, different types of products and what have you, from really high tech to, to diapers, everything, and everything in between. So I had to learn a lot about manufacturing, a lot about lean manufacturing through that whole process. So great experience.
Yeah, because I'm sure, I mean, as we know, Europe and Austria and Germany, very, very, very lean, very high technical specifications and just everything. I'm sure that experience is not something you could even get close to replicating by going to United States plants.
Yeah, I think, well, there's just a lot of different types of manufacturing over there, and some that are well established. But yeah, in Germany, that we got to see some very high tech manufacturing businesses. In Italy as well. So like Brembo brakes, the high end brakes you see for high performance vehicles. Yeah. We got a chance to go to their manufacturing plant. So Bosch in Germany, you got to see their facilities. So a lot of great experiences learning from best practices in manufacturing.
Very cool. See some great brands. Awesome. So tell us about Peak Demand and let's dive into your journey a little bit.
So yeah, Peak Demand, we are a manufacturing company. We started 7 years ago. We, the emphasis, the reason we started was that there was a need for another supplier in our industry. So our industry is dominated by very large suppliers, and there was a very high level of dissatisfaction with the incumbents in the industry. Okay. So they were looking for someone that was more responsive, treated people like, treated customers like people, and had short lead times and just easy to do business with. And there was a lot of things that we knew were wrong with the products in the industry that we as engineers sort of had the ability to sort of fix the known problems with some of the existing products in the industry. So we set about to start a business, and our goal was to be a different kind of supplier. So we wanted to be known as fast, speed, easy to do business with, and just kind of a reliable supplier that had great products, but also had very good company performance.
So how did you come to the point that how did you realize that the industry needed that the industry needed these shorter lead times and just overall easier to do business with?
Mostly because I ran those businesses at the competitors.
Okay.
So I was with two of the major suppliers in the industry over my career. And I just saw a lot of the way that we acted as a company. So we were elephant hunters. So we would chase after the very large utilities.
Boys. Sure.
Yeah. And we would get these large blankets, and we'd focus all our attention on the elephants. And then everywhere else there were, the smaller customers were just, kind of left alone to ignored. Fight for, fight for themselves. And so we said, we're going to build our business on those small utilities. We're going to take care of them. We're going to supply them with great products, great service. And it's those smaller utilities tend to appreciate our value proposition more than the big guys. The big guys will say, sure, you can bid our product, but there's going to be a reverse auction next week. And I'm like, that's not what we're here for.
Their accounting division drives it versus the actual maybe managers of that division.
That's exactly. And the smaller utilities really do appreciate having a supplier that answers the phone, gives them a quote within 24 hours, ships a product within a week. And they really appreciated that level of service that they got from us.
So it sounds like, you identified this need in the industry, in that sector, but you're not really going for the big boys. You've identified that it's the smaller, maybe a medium size, who are kind of getting ignored by the suppliers of that industry because they're so busy chasing the big guys. And so your value proposition is you're giving them better attention, shorter lead times, and just overall easier to do business with.
Yes, exactly. Fantastic. And then we threw in some product features and benefits that the big guys can't do either. So we threw in a couple of little things that make us really unique as far as our products go as well.
No, and I think that's a fantastic takeaway because you identified something that was a huge need in the space, and you put together a value proposition. And I think that's an important thing for anybody looking at this. Like if you're coming into business and you think you're just going to be the me too, you're going to do the same exact thing as somebody else has been doing it for 20 years. It's going to be you're going to be swimming upstream.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. When I was with a larger company, we were chasing the cutting edge of technology. So we were working on, creating a market. In this case, smart grid was evolving. We were creating these really high-tech products. And what we found is there wasn't necessarily a market yet developed for that. So one of the things that we do in our business today is we say, we're not going to be the first to the market, but we're going to be a fast follower. And we're going to fix the problems with that bleeding edge. So the people that go first and they lose a lot of money doing it, we kind of come in second once everything's been established, and we're like, let's make a slightly better product and let's get it out to that market. So being a fast follower instead of being the one that dies on that innovation hill. So we like the idea of being fast follower and not being on the leading edge.
Awesome. Very cool. Thanks for giving us a little background on that. So take us through some of your high points in your journey in the last 7 years and getting peak demand to where it is now, man.
So, the high point is doing something from scratch, taking an idea and creating it. So we had to build a facility, right? So we ended up finding an older factory that was shut down, and we built it up from the ground up. We spent about $1 million renovating it and building a world-class facility that we can be proud of. We had to identify a location where we wanted to be. We had to find a property. We had to then renovate this building. And in the meantime, in a parallel path, we were developing our product. So from the ground up, blank piece of paper, how do we build a better mousetrap? We had two distinct product lines that we were going into. So we had these parallel operations and design working at the same time, to the point where in 2 years, both of them connected, and we had the factory, we had the products that were fully certified, fully qualified. So that was the high point, doing something from scratch and seeing this evolution of just ideas into reality. And if you've never done that in your life, I highly encourage you to do that, build something from scratch, because it really is a great feeling. Now, the feeling that wasn't so good is a year into our process, one of the large suppliers in our industry decided to sue us. So it was a $40 billion company decided to put a lawsuit on us saying that we were stealing their technology and we were stealing their people. And so,
Wow.
it's funny because I was sitting, one of our attorneys were actually visiting for some other reason. And when we got this letter saying we were being sued, and I just looked at the letter and I said, well, I said, game over. How do you survive being, we're pre-revenue.
Yeah.
We hadn't
Oh,
even shipped anything yet. And they were already suing us. And again, it was meant to scare us. It was meant to, have us dump a bunch of money in lawyers to try to fight it. There was nothing that we had done that was wrong. I mean, anything that we've took was from their website. So, and it was easy to defend. I mean, it took a long time, but eventually, settled out of court. Everything was fine, but and no restrictions on us. But my point is that when you see something like that, you've got this dream, you got this desire, you're going to build something great, and the next thing you know, you get a lawsuit trying to shut you down. A lot of people would have just said, "Okay, I'm pulling up my tent. This is it. I'm done." But we had really good attorneys. We focused hard on answering the questions and then getting through that process. So that was probably one of the biggest hurdles we had early on in the company. And so but it's funny because as a company, once we overcame that, we sort of felt like there was nothing that you could throw at us that we couldn't overcome.
Yeah, nothing that you are not going to be able to knock out and keep going through it. So what was the determining factor like that made you say, you know what, we're going to fight this? We have a chance. We can do this.
Mostly my attorney. He just looked at it. He said, this is nothing. They're just trying to scare you. And I'm like, I was scared. So it's just funny. He just had a tremendous amount of confidence. And, he had been through this a lot. So that's one of the things that when you start a company, you need to find good people around you. So you got to surround yourself with good like bankers and attorneys and accountants and people that can really support your business, a really big part of it. And when you have a partner like that you're coming into the business with, when something like this happens, you can really rely on their expertise. And he had confidence from the day he read the lawsuit till the day that was settled out of court, and never once wavered on that confidence level. And so I sort of just mimicked his feelings towards the whole thing, and it worked out to our benefit.
Yeah, you took on his confidence, and that allowed you to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So you actually mentioned too that you had to let go of a founder.
Yeah, that's hard. We started out with 4 of us that founded the company, and this particular employee was actually employee number 1. So he actually he quit his job and started in peak demand before I quit my job and started. So he actually was employee number 1, and it's a phenomenal guy. He'd worked with me in other businesses, but really struggled to make the transition to small company thinking. And we were trying to build something that would go fast, but also would scale. So he was thinking about scale. Everything he was building was to be able to scale. But I needed stuff quickly, as well. So I sort of needed both. And
you got to follow through on the value proposition on the back end.
Exactly.
In order to be successful.
Right. Exactly. So he struggled a bit with just, I need something today, something that'll work today. I need an accounts receivable aging report now. I understand we're going to build something that's going to be great. We'll press a button, we'll get it. But right now I need one. And so I think it was just a struggle with the needs of a fast moving small business and the idea of the big business and what it would look like at the end of the day. So I think there was a major disconnect. And to be fair, it's a really hard job when you're a small company and you want somebody to be your CFO and also your accountant and your bookkeeper. And so he was wearing a lot of hats.
Yeah.
And I think that's it was unfair to him, truthfully. And one of the things we did was we outsourced accounting once we made that change. because we realized that it wasn't necessarily core to what we needed to do. So we found a group of people that can handle our books, give us our monthly P&L and our cash flow, and do collections for us. And that worked out a lot better. So we took it away from being like a core part of our business, and we focused in on the things that were core.
Yeah, very cool. And allow them to work on, or the CFO to work on more high value things versus
That's it.
menial accounting, getting you those reports quickly that you need to make decisions.
Yeah. That's it. And it's funny because it's hard to let somebody go, especially hard to let go a friend, someone that you start a journey with. But I could tell the rest of my employees were like, they're looking at me like, this isn't working out and you need to do something about it.
Oh, they actually said something to you?
Well, it wasn't they said it, but you could sense it. Like everybody was just like, like when Rennie, when are you going to do something about this? And that's a hard thing because I'm one of these guys that believes in 3 strikes and you're out, and I might even go to 4 strikes.
Yeah, that's an old Navy one.
Yeah, I'd like to give people a benefit of the doubt. Let's
Marshall.
work on this. Let's get better. And but it just didn't. And I think that I probably should have moved even quicker than I did.
It's funny. I haven't heard a CEO or a leader, really, for that matter, that's when they had to let somebody go that didn't say the exact same thing. I should have moved a lot quicker, right?
Yeah.
So what happened after you let him go? Did everybody then come to you, and then you probably heard the flood of the rest of the stories? And oh man, thank you.
Oh, that was a lot. Yeah, but and again, he had a vision, but it was different than our vision. I think that's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. We were misaligned. And this is the thing I tell that a lot to leaders is that, how your people, especially in a small business, have to be like a puzzle piece, and they have to fit in your puzzle. And not every puzzle piece fits in your puzzle. And it's best to find that out early and make sure that you find a puzzle that person can fit into, right? That piece just didn't fit into our puzzle. He fit into a really good puzzle in another. He left our company, went to another company. He was a perfect fit. But it just wasn't our puzzle.
Everything happens for a reason, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. You had mentioned that in your journey, when I asked what was the biggest failure you learned from, is you had said, don't dive headfirst into things you don't know. You talked about a product line launch that you guys had. You were smiling. I can't wait to hear the story.
Well, it's just one of those things that, it seemed like too good to be true. And so, and again, I'm the type of leader that likes to empower my team to come up with ideas, and I like to give them the opportunity to try those ideas. My team came to me and they said that we had this one product line that wouldn't have to do anything really. We would just bring some. We'd have a supplier over in this case. We had some suppliers in China. We bring it over, we qualify the components, and we just have to bring it in and sell it. So it was a buy resell kind of setup, really simple, easy, and it would add to our portfolio, give us something else to sell.
It's like an instant win, too good to be true. It's easy.
Yeah. And so we ended up, these were porcelain insulators. So it turns out that porcelain insulators are heavy. Okay. Number one, that's a problem. Yeah. And the second thing is they're low margin. So as we got into the business and we started bringing product over and we started selling the market, we realized our margin levels were very low. And we didn't understand the logistics side of it. We were bringing in heavy things from China, heavy items.
So you're paying more for shipping.
Paying a lot of money to bringing them here, and then we had to get them to the customer. And what we realized, as we got into it, probably 2 years into it, is the companies are really successful with this. They ship in truckloads, so they'll and they make the customer pay for the truckload of the product, right? And so we were trying to do it by the pallet load, and we were just getting killed. So
just inefficient as all hell.
Whatever little margin we had was gone through just the logistics of it, and the numbers just didn't work. And so we made a run at it for a couple of years, and eventually I just had to say, this isn't working. This isn't really core to what we want to do. It was supposed to be an easy plug-in, and so we had to abandon that business. Now, I still have a corner of my factory that has old inventory that we're still selling here and there, but it's also it's like a monument to my stupidity, right? So and the thing is, like, if you start a business, right, you're going to have those monuments. But I still think that if I had to do it all over again, I probably still would have went down the path, because I think it's important to try things, and not everything works in business, right? And I think it's good to try things to see if they work. And and again, not everything's going to work out, but some things might be magical. So, and I'm glad we gave it a shot. But truly, if we really did the math, we would have seen it. It wasn't something that would have been profitable anyway.
And that's the best culture, is when everybody in your team sees the CEO that says, you know what, it's okay to make mistakes. Look, here's my fuck up. It's all good,
Yeah,
right? I want you guys to keep trying stuff. So what have you guys done now? Like what have you instituted now to make sure that any kind of new vertical or vein or whatever direction you go is going to be profitable and in direction with your overall vision?
I think we're sticking to the knitting. We're sticking to what we know and what we're experts in.
Staying
so
in your lane.
we literally did not know anything about insulators, and we learned a ton about it, which and nothing good, by the way. But and so I think we're sticking with the products we know, the technology we know, the customers and the business we know. So we stick into what we're good at, and we're adding more features and benefits into the things that we know really well, versus trying to go into like a parallel product line that might be able to be helpful.
It's a good reminder, right? Because I know for myself, I wasn't successful in my life until I stuck to one lane, what I was good at, and just focused on that, and just focused on that, instead of that, entrepreneur, that shiny penny syndrome. You can still have a $5 million company and have the shiny penny syndrome and fuck things up. Excuse my language, right?
Exactly.
Like, oh, hey, what's over here? So and then your team's like, what are you doing, Patrick? What are you doing, John?
Yeah. So I think stick to your lane, stick to what you're good at, and stick to what customers love you for, right? That's another thing too, is our customers love us for what we do. So let's and really do, if we're not selling to 100% of all the customers in this market, then we have plenty of opportunity for growth. So let's focus on what we do.
There it is.
And not doing really well at it. Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. So what's next for you guys? What's the next milestone for your company?
Well, we're actually looking for an investment. So we want to grow. Yeah, we want to grow. So we're sort of stuck at a certain level that that really, and we need investment to be able to take it to the next level. So we're talking to a number of different investors and partners to look at how we can take this business where it's at today and really scale it to the next level to be something really significant in the market. So we built a reputation. I like to say the hard work is done, because this industry is very conservative. And they don't like new entrants. And so we made the entrance. We have customers. That hurdle. Yeah, we have customers in 50 states, but still, even to this day, only 10% of the utility customers in the country buy from us. And so we want to get to where 50% of the customers and 60%, 70%.
10% in 7 years, dude. That's pretty impressive, man. 10% of all the utility customers in the United States that buy. That's a pretty good start. I mean, you guys have made some great progress. Congrats.
We made great progress. We've got sales across the country. So from every state, we've got Alaska, Hawaii, we got Maine to California to Florida. So we sell across the country. Some states better than others, depending on our sales reps in that area. But to me, it just goes to show the model works. We've got customers across the country that like us.
Do more of what works.
Guess what? What happens when you get 20% of the customers? Then you're double the size of the business. So we want to be able to bring an investor on that can help us grow to that next 10, 20%. 30%.
Absolutely. Double size of the business. You start having the ability to buy more things in bulk and even lower margin there, economies of scale. So very cool. So expansion in the United States, you're at 10%, go for a higher. At what point do you think you'll ever go to a global strategy?
Originally when we started, that was the thought, is we wanted to have a presence here. We wanted to have be in Central and South America. But I think right now we're pretty confident with we're comfortable in the US. We're comfortable with the model we created.
Go with what works.
And we're going to keep doing what works. Maybe at some point we'll have a distribution center on the West Coast just to be able to improve logistics, because we're an East Coast company. We're in North Carolina. So we got a long way over to Pacific Northwest. We have a lot of customers in Pacific Northwest, but we have no presence there. We're down, in North Carolina. So the idea of maybe having a distribution center or even maybe a light assembly facility on the West Coast might make sense in the future. Yeah.
Could you, is an acquisition of another, somebody that's already doing it in the West Coast, is that a potential for you?
Yeah, certainly. If we could find somebody that would be similar to us, it's a very interesting business. Like, for example, one of our product lines is only 4 suppliers in the whole industry. So there's not a lot of competitors or, so you'd have to find someone that's in a similar business and try
niche,
to mold it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, best of luck on that, man. We'll have
Thank you
back on the show when you're up to 20% or 30% or whatever, and hear how it's going. Yeah. Very cool. So Jon, if you were going to hire a CEO to take the reins for your company, I have a guess at what it's going to be. Well, what's the one book you'd require that he or she read before taking over for you?
Well, since I'm an author,
there you go.
Since I've written 3 books. No, I think my second book is called All on the Same Boat. And it just reflects on the lessons I learned as a submarine officer and what I took into business with me after, I've run 9 different manufacturing businesses. And so I took a lot of the approaches that I used in the submarine Navy and applied them in real life. And so I would want that CEO to sort of learn from those experiences and learn why I did things a certain way. So the idea of, leadership on a submarine was a 24/7 business. You didn't go home after a tough day. You didn't kick your feet up and have a beer. At the end of the day, you were 24/7 we did, 3 months at a time under the water. But the one thing is that there was a shared mission. So there was shared responsibility, shared vulnerability. We were in it together. And I think that's a big part of our success as a business today, is that we're all in it together. When we're busy, we all go to the shop floor, we help out. We're more of a family. Our company's more of a family than it is, a true, company, if you will. And so we have each other's back. We watch out for each other. We have a shared mission in our company. And I'd like for the next CEO to carry that on going forward.
I love it, man. And I forgot there was one more question I wanted to ask. You're in the middle of this process of looking for investors, to get to that next level. Any advice for our listeners or CEOs out there who are, considering looking for investors? Any advice you have for them?
Well, there's 2 different types you're going to run into, right? It's your VC folks, and then you're going to have your VC private equity, and then your strategic investors. And so strategic investors are going to talk to you about, the bells and whistles of your product and your manufacturing plant. And that's the language I'm happy and I'm comfortable talking with.
Sure.
When you talk to that other group, which is,
VCs.
The venture capital or the PE guys, it's all financial, and that's all I want to know is financial information. And so I have all that, but I don't speak as well the language that they speak as I do with strategic investors. So that's the biggest challenge is being able to speak in a language that those people understand, because they do speak. And I'm talking coming from a perspective where I ran businesses for years. Yeah. I know a P&L statement backwards and forwards. I know cash flow, but PE people talk a completely different language. So I think it's learning how to speak that language is different. So having a guide to help you down that path is really important.
Okay, awesome. Get a guide. Okay, fantastic. Jon, let me take a few minutes and just kind of summarize some of my key takeaways. One was, you didn't come right out with it, but really, when you kind of described what you guys are doing, going after the short lead time, easier to do business with, and then, targeting these smaller utilities, it's your value proposition. Coming into this, you identified a need in the industry and you created a value proposition which solves a major gap in the industry. And that's the main recipe for a successful business. So that's fantastic. And other was surrounding yourself with amazing partners, identifying what your genius is, identifying your gaps, and surrounding yourself with the people like that lawyer. That's fantastic, man, that you had someone there, and that becomes part of your confidence. The other one, which I thought was really good, was staying in your lane, being consistent with what you guys know and what you're best at, and just looking to expand that offering, not necessarily the offering, but expand that and continue to drive that lane. The other one, you just kind of talked about strategic investors versus VC investors. That is absolutely true. They speak totally different languages. They care about 2 totally different sets of things. And so having someone that can help you, digest the difference between the 2 will help you in that game. So Jon, if there was one takeaway that you would really want the audience to absorb from our time together today, what would that be?
Well, I think if you're going to start your own business, I would say this: it's going to take twice as much cash as you think. It's going to take twice as long as you think. And cash is king. And you're going to learn that very quickly. So it was always important to me in corporate but it was really important to me when I started my own business. So
Yeah.
cash flow, know your cash flow.
Yeah. It hits a lot different when it's your back pocket that's going to suffer.
Oh yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Hey, John, if any of our listeners, perhaps an investor who wanted to reach out and get a hold of you, we're going to have your LinkedIn profile on there as well. But for any follow-up questions, how would you like anybody to do that, or questions from today?
Yeah, you just go on my website, jonsrennie.com, and I've got, you can contact me there and you can see links. Cool. I've got links in my socials and things like that. But jonsrennie.com is all things about me.
Very cool. And it's JONSRENNIE.com, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. Awesome, John. Thanks for being on the show. This was fantastic.
Hey, I appreciate it, Patrick. This was fun.
Yeah. For the listeners, please hit the like and subscribe button and help us spread the word about the show and what we're doing here. We're helping the next generation of leaders and CEOs be that much more successful. With that, this is Patrick Rogers, your host, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks a lot.